Manifestation without embodiment, physical grounded embodiment, is just a fantasy. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why embodiment is the next evolution beyond manifestation. I'm going to define embodiment for you and show you why, in my opinion, it's such a better term than manifestation. And for me, and for a lot of people I know, it resonates much more. So embodiment is what I'm teaching, it's what I'm so passionate about, and I'm so excited to share with you here everything that I know about embodiment and how it's defined. And I'm sharing the 3-step framework that I have used that has helped me embody new realities for myself, that has helped me lose 30 pounds of excess weight that I did not need, that has helped me heal my insomnia, and to write my first books and build my dream business as I'm doing now. So let's get into it in this post, which I'm titling, Why Embodiment is Better Than Manifestation. I'm reading directly from my Substack post. I write, my publication was called Step Into Love with Sophia. I recently put it under my name because I realized I'm the brand, I'm the example, and I'll talk about that a little bit in this post. So my Substack is now sophialeitnerhubert.substack.com, excuse me. I may make a couple little errors, I may trip over my words, but I am an authentic leader. I am, leading from my current reality. I am not going to lean into perfectionist tendencies that I used to have. Instead, I'm embodying this version of myself where even if I make a small little mistake, I'm sharing it with y'all. It's going to be here because you're going to get all this great value from this post, and I'm going to read it from you now. With that little intro over, let's jump into why embodiment is better than manifestation. And I'll link the full post if you want to read it as well, but you can watch, you can sit back, chill, listen. Here is all the reasons why embodiment is better than manifestation, and this is your new operating definition for living your values and actually living your values in alignment. So, for years, I've been practicing embodiment through decision-making frameworks. I've been using nervous system regulation and value-based action. This means taking actions that are actually aligned with my values so that I'm not feeling regret or guilt, etc. Things that I used to deal with a lot, especially growing up. And I've gotten a lot better at my embodiment over time. So that's why I am qualified and excited to share this information with you now. But you may be asking yourself, Soph, what is embodiment? And why do you say it's better than manifestation? So, first of all, let me start with the actual definitions because I believe that words matter, and the way that we use these words matter because they're used differently colloquially than they are in the dictionary definition. And I think it's really interesting to compare how we use the terms colloquially and what people really mean, and then the dictionary definitions, and then I give you my specific definition of how I see embodiment as a holistic system. And that's what I teach now. So I'm defining embodiment for you now, so you can jump onto this operating definition with me if you like. So manifestation is a noun from the Oxford Dictionary, an event, action, or object that clearly shows or embodies something. Second definition, a symptom or sign of an ailment. And third definition of manifestation is an appearance of a ghost or spirit. So that's all very interesting. Embodiment is defined as a noun by the Oxford Dictionary as a tangible or visible form of an idea, quality, or feeling. And secondly, the representation or expression of something in a tangible or visible form. So, if you notice something there, the definition of manifestation includes the word embodies. And one of its meanings is literally a symptom of an ailment, which is kind of an interesting one. The dictionary definitions show that manifestation is sort of incomplete without embodiment, because the question is, what are you manifesting? And how do you manifest it? Where does it show up? How does it show up in your body? How does it become an embodied reality for you? And so an action that clearly shows or embodies something. This is why I like turning to embodiment, because I feel like it's more of a practical operating word. It's more of a practical definition. It's more grounded in the reality of what's really happening. Is when you're manifesting, you're thinking about something and you're wanting to bring it into your physical reality. But how do you do that? You do it by embodying it. So let's talk through that. Here's what I've seen happen in the wellness culture, I'd say the last 10 years. We've taken manifestation and turned it into a process. The process of bringing something into your life, like I just spoke about. But the word itself describes the end result. So a manifestation of something like, oh, I've got a freckle, or oh, I'll go more into that. But it's the end result. It's not necessarily the journey, even though people do try to talk about it as a journey, try to talk about it as a process. But it's like calling the destination the directions. And honestly, the term manifestation has felt a little hollow to me lately. It hasn't resonated as much as embodiment, which is why I think it's important to put this flag in the ground. I'm with embodiment. I'm all about embodiment now. That is what has really made the huge changes in my life that I'm so grateful for, and that's why I want to share the power and how passionate I am about embodiment with y'all. So another thing that rubs me wrong about manifestation speak is when people say, I manifested this. It comes off as sort of egocentric, like they willed something into existence purely using their willpower through sheer mental force alone, or luck, or certain circumstances. When people say plainly, I manifested this, or I see it written a lot, I have a sense that they've kind of removed faith from the process and the co-creative aspects that I really believe are a huge part of this process. I believe you're co-creating with God, your embodiment. You're following your faith with aligned actions. You're praying and hoping and wishing and manifesting and all those things, and you're placing dual responsibility in your hands and in the hands of divinity. So I really see it as a co-creative process. Everyone is doing their part in this. And so when people say, I manifested this, I just feel like it's kind of, they're downplaying the actual physical embodiment work that does go into bringing what you want into physical embodied reality for you. So this is why I prefer the terms embodiment and co-creation with God, like I just briefly chatted about. Because manifestation lives in your mind, and embodiment lives more in your life. To me, that's how it resonates, especially in recent years. Manifestation, I kind of see it as the vision board, and embodiment is the aligned action. Of course, you can have both. They go hand in hand, they kind of work in tandem. And I just think embodiment is nice as this whole system. So another example is manifestation is what you may think, and embodiment is really who you are. It's being who you are. It's being that version that you want to be. And that includes how you think and how you speak to yourself, and the words that you use, and the reputation that you uphold, and the beliefs that you have, and the actions that you take, and the way that you care for yourself and care for others, the way that you show up in the world. It includes everything, So don't get me wrong, manifestation was the gateway. I think that was a very important, necessary learning curve for many of us. Manifestation resonated with me for a long time, and I think it still resonates in some way, but again, it's just embodiment is more complete to me, and it's really resonating loud for me recently because I think it is, again, my movement and my passion that I'm here to speak about. So manifestation taught us to dream, to clarify, to believe in the possibilities, and that's great. Think back at The Secret, that movie and that book, that is quintessential manifestation speak, right? But for so many of us, manifestation could kind of become this loop, and maybe it starts to feel a little empty or unsure. Visualize, affirm, wait, and wonder, why has nothing changed, or why hasn't the change come to me yet? And then I've learned over time that it comes down to really stepping into embodied leadership, and that's what really brings about the change more rapidly. So manifestation is incomplete without embodiment. You can't think your way into a new identity. That's not the only piece. You've got to do more than just think about it, and you have to live your way into it, When I say I co-created and I embodied this truth until it came into fruition, I co-created and embodied this truth until it came into fruition, that feels much more faithful to me to the actual process that happened. and it acknowledges the partnership with something larger than myself, God, the universe, source, divinity, higher powers, whatever term resonates for you. I really love to say divinity. And using that phrasing, to me, it honors the daily practices, the nervous system work that has gone into this, the change, the positive transformation, the aligned action that brought that vision into form, right? So it's shifting from I manifested a new body through positive thinking, that's an oversimplification, to this new phrase I prefer is I co-created this version of myself through embodied practices that honored my values around my self-love. So I embodied those values of self-love. And how did I do it? By showing myself those values in action every single day, consistently. That builds confidence, that builds self-trust. So embodiment is the next evolution beyond manifestation, in my opinion. There's my flag in the ground. Embodiment is the next evolution beyond manifestation. If I'm 4 or 5 years ahead of the curve, you will hear later, I'm writing my book, I'm publishing my book, and hopefully I am ahead of the curve. Let's do it. Let's start the next wave. So here we go. Embodiment is physically practicing what you say you value through your body in your daily life. I think I've said that a lot in this post. Let's move on. So when I share my 10 embodiment obsessions on Instagram, I have linked here in my post. This is why I share these, because they are all physical practices that center you into the now and ground you into the present in gratitude. So I share things like emotional freedom technique, dancing, other somatic practices that get you moving and make you feel good, writing, and like putting on lotion and saying your affirmations, and just doing these like self-love routines that are really, really embodied and grounded. I love teaching that stuff because you can manifest all day long, like I've said. You can think positive thoughts, vision boards, affirmations, but if you're not actually living from your values, your deeply rooted values that you care about, that you say you care about, these values that you say matter to you, if your actions don't align with what you say you believe, then what really changes? I have so many direct examples now of how embodiment has transformed my life, made everything better. For example, from losing and keeping off those 30 pounds of excess weight, to rewiring my chronic insomnia, to writing my first 2 books. And those stories deserve their own space, so stay tuned, subscribe here, subscribe on Substack. I will be sharing those stories in the coming weeks and months on those platforms. But now I'll lead you through my embodiment framework. This is kind of the key point of this post, is teaching the embodiment framework of how to move from manifestation to embodiment. So step 1 is understanding the foundation. Like we've said, I gave you the definition. We've gone through step 1. Embodiment is physically practicing your values through your body, not just thinking about them. And if your subconscious is running on old programming, outdated beliefs about who you are and what's possible, you need to update that subconscious programming. And you do that through embodiment practices, through subconscious rewiring, through using neuroscience tools that I teach. Because that operating system of your subconscious mind determines your default actions and your baseline state. So that's all really important for understanding the foundation of embodiment. Like, where are you currently and where do you want to go, and what are the specific actions that move you from A to B? What's the desired destination, and what are you doing to get there? Step 2, like I said, updating your operating system. So you can't just think your way into a new identity by willpower alone. When your nervous system is still running on old software, you need to update it by subconscious reprogramming, and then also by instilling new practices, new habits, new beliefs. And there's entire habit formation frameworks that cover exactly how to do that side of thing. I reference Atomic Habits by James Clear very often. I think that's a great, simple book for understanding habit formation. That's a big piece of updating your operating system, supporting yourself through these practices in your body that will physically make those changes. So This is why up-leveling takes conscious and subconscious change, because if you just try to make a drastic change, then your subconscious might be like, ooh, I'm scared, and you'll want to quit, because your body and your subconscious, your central nervous system, they just want to keep you safe. And so you have to program your mind and make space and safety, create that safety in your body and in your experience, that you feel safe for those next levels, for those next changes. You feel safe to embody this more expansive version of yourself. You feel safe to embody your leadership, or whatever it may be. Embodiment is how you update the system through nervous system work, through all these practices like I've mentioned, not through willpower alone, because willpower doesn't always last. Season changes, something happens, you get busy, that new habit you're trying to make, it might just fall off. But when you do the identity work and you attach it to, I'm the sort of person who does this, and this is how exactly, and you give yourself grace and you give yourself metrics to meet, those are all wonderful things that go into embodying the version that you want to be. And then step 3, as I kind of just led into, step 3 of moving from manifestation to embodiment is putting it into practice. So here's a question you can ask yourself right now. Take a moment to reflect. Maybe take a few deep breaths, place your hand on your heart, and ask yourself this: how am I actually embodying my values? Am I proving to myself that this matters to me through my daily actions? Maybe think of like 1 or 2 values that come to mind or come to your heart, a couple values that really resonate with you right now. And for me, I can say, for example, thought leadership, speaking, writing. Those are things that I care about. Being of service, being service-minded. And how concretely am I actually embodying those values? How am I showing up as a leader? How am I speaking? Do I speak in a way that I think co-creates beauty in this life? Am I sharing gratitude and love and kindness every day in my daily interactions? Yes. And so you want to be doing these physical actions in your life that really align with your values. This is something I'm so passionate about teaching. I hope that that was a nice overview of that framework of moving from manifestation to embodiment. So again, just real quickly to recap, step 1 is understanding the foundation and understanding the difference between manifestation and embodiment. Step 2 is updating your operating system as needed. I teach this subconscious rewiring work. That's something I'm happy to do and help new clients with. If you're interested, stay tuned. There'll be more coming. And for step 3, putting it into practice. So putting your values into practice. And also, I coach people now on how to put their values into their lives, how to be that embodied version of themselves. And there's so many modalities for doing that, but I make it really clear in my coaching programs. So let me show you, for example, what this really looks like in real life. So here's what embodiment actually looks like. This is the 3rd section of my post. So I think it's important to ask these questions like, how are you embodying your values? What really matters to you, and how are you showing up as that version of yourself that is living out your values? Because here's what I believe. Spirituality needs to be part of our modern life for us to lead authentically and be empowered, authentic leaders. When I see, the mental health struggle and epidemics of loneliness that are happening in our country, I also see it as a spiritual problem. A lot of people are feeling spiritually disconnected from their communities and from spirit, from whether that be like religious sources or just their guides and angels and whatever you believe in. I think it's important to have that spiritual connection and that spiritual reinforcement because it helps you build your faith, not only in yourself, but also in other people in the world, and helps you believe in things like hope and goodness and that love will prevail. So I think spirituality is such an important aspect to guard and protect in modern life. And that's another thing that I'm passionate about teaching. My embodiment that I teach, these frameworks, it is all supported by not only like neuroscience the science is psychology, but also spirituality and practices that have been around for thousands and thousands of years. So I love to come at it from both the science and the spiritual perspective. I work with a coach who calls this SWOO. She's like, we're doing the science and the woo. I'm like, that's cute, sure. So SWOO. But I bring this up because spirituality is also not, and religion, like it's also not just this spiritual bypassing, amorphous, ephemeral thing. When you're really living as a spiritual leader, and for example, if you're like a leader in your church, you're embodying and being an example of what you believe. And I think it's important to be that example and show your values, live out your values, like I've been saying, show what you believe. So we need to move from knowing our values to embodying them. And that is, I find, such a helpful thing to teach young people, especially, who maybe there's this cognitive dissonance or there's just pain and regret. And I used to experience this because I would always be like, oh, I want to be writing, but I don't have time. And then I would just feel guilt for not doing the things that I said actually mattered to me. So you want to make time and embody those things that really matter to you, you know? So we're preventing the cognitive dissonance that keeps you stuck, anxious, and disconnected from your truth through this embodiment framework and through spirituality and science and all those things that support and bolster up embodiment as a really powerful healing tool. So here's a few little other nice things to consider in terms of being the embodied version of yourself that you want to be. So here's a cute phrase. Let's think about how this bounces off of you. Show me your schedule and I'll show you your spell. Kind of some magical language there. So this means that how you spend your time reveals what you're actually calling in. And it's not about what you say you want, but what you're energetically committed to. So you could do an audit with yourself. You could check your calendar and say, where have I been spending my time? What have I been giving my time to? Have I been scrolling online too much? Have I been watching too much TV? Have I been with my family? Have I been cooking healthy meals for myself? Have I been, working on my business and doing the things that I say and growing in the way that I want to grow? Here's another one. See if this one resonates. Show me your structure and I'll show you your self-respect. So this means that the boundaries that you hold and the routines that you honor and the standards that you maintain for yourself, these are love letters to yourself. This is how you show your own self-respect. And the example I give here is I have an alarm at night to go to bed and start getting ready for bed so that I'm getting enough sleep. And 9 out of 10 times I listen to that alarm. Like, I mostly am committed to sticking to that schedule because I know it's important to me. And if I go to bed later, then I'll be like kind of regretful the next morning. Some months ago, my husband called me out on it. He was like, why don't you just turn off the alarm if you're not going to listen to it? And I was like, dang, I guess I've not been listening to my commitment to go to bed at a certain time. And so him calling me out honestly helped me. And I made the adjustment because I was like, this is important to me and I will respect this commitment. So you're respecting your routines. You're showing up for your routines because you respect and love yourself and you want to take care of yourself and not have that regret the next morning. That's just an example I love to give. So all this to say that success comes with consistency, especially in embodiment and habit formation and any real change that you want to make in your life. Real change requires effort. You've got to be consistent for the things that you care about. And when you're committing to what makes your heart burst with love and joy, it becomes even easier. This is why I teach aligned action, receiving clarity through your heart, aligning through your heart, aligning with your heart's desires. Because again, when it is supported by your highest vision for your life, your spiritual beliefs, your faith, your hope, your heart's desires, it's so much easier to be motivated to make these changes. And your heart is just on fire and passionate about making these changes. And then you do the subconscious rewiring and you do the daily aligned actions, and then that habit formation becomes easier, and you're building your faith as you do it. So it's really important to pick changes that you actually care about and love, and embodying this day after day, moment by moment, and it becomes easier and easier the more that you do it. And that's something I love about embodiment. So here's a practice I'll share with you close to wrapping up this post now. Your values check-in one more time, very, very important. With all of your commitments that you have in your life, you can ask yourself this. You can do another audit, you can ask yourself these questions. How am I actually embodying the values that I'm committed to? Am I proving to myself that this actually matters to me? And what metrics show me that this matters to me? How am I physically showing it in my life? And be specific as you can. That's really helpful, being specific. Is there anything in my life that feels neglected and wants remedy? I find that's such a helpful question. Does anything in my life feel neglected? Does my heart hurt for anything in my life? Do I need to reach back out to that friend or strengthen that relationship? Again, I'll bring it back to the writing example. Do I have something on my heart that I need to write? Like I just need to get out. And if I don't do it for a few days, don't I just feel like it's kind of hanging over my head? I've got to do something about it, you know? Take that action, get that physical relief that you need by taking that action, and not neglecting the things that you care about. So that last question is so powerful, and that is where a lot of change and healing occurs. So now this is a very hopeful exercise that you can do with your free time, if you have time this weekend perhaps, your values check-in. I'm going to share with you a couple of the things I am committed to and how I practice them, how I show up for them in my life. And this is a helpful framework for you to kind of state what you're committed to and then how you show up. So for example, I'm committed to loving myself and being present. So how do I embody this? Through, for example, my self-care rituals and my daily gratitude. My daily gratitude practice is so great. Helps with being present and everything. Secondly, I'm committed to being lithe, lean, active, strong, capable, healthy. And so how do I embody this? Movement every day, strength training, dance, eating healthy, and cooking at home. Thirdly, I am committed to being of service through my example, my work, and my thought leadership. So how do I embody this specifically? I'm writing my first 2 books, I'm sharing, I'm speaking. There you go. This is embodiment in action. Not as theory, but as practice. Not as aspiration, but as a lived reality. So it's your turn. I turn it over to you. Thank you so much for watching this video describing embodiment versus manifestation, the framework for moving into embodiment, how you embody your practices, how you embody your values by asking those questions and then taking aligned actions. That should get you started on a really good foot. So now it's your turn. This week, notice, where are you thinking about your life instead of actually living it? Are there any ways that you're daydreaming, but you could start actioning, taking small steps towards those goals? That's very powerful. And where are you perhaps stuck in your head when your body actually has wisdom to share? So are you running negative mental loops, that emotions that need to be processed out of your body? Where does your body have wisdom to share with you? And how does your body want more connection, more care? How does your body want to be treated in this season? Especially as we're like in the Northern Hemisphere, still in winter, I find a lot of extra like body care and, like I said, lotion and cuddles and all this stuff is so important at this time of the year. So try this. Tapped in with your body, aware and grateful for your surroundings and for your safety, place your hand on your heart. Take 3 deep breaths and ask your body, what do you truly need right now? What do you need right now? What do you want right now? Ask your body, not your mind. Ask your heart. And wait to receive that clarity, that insight. Whether it comes in the moment or it comes later, that clarity will arrive for you, and the answer might surprise you. So write down the things that your body wants and needs. Maybe you want to give yourself a foot massage. Maybe you want to go on a nice long walk. Embodiment starts with caring for and loving your body. That's so important. This body is a vessel that we are blessed to be able to move through and process through and dance through this life in and experience this life in our physical bodies. So we want to love and have so much gratitude for our bodies and the emotions that move through them and the experiences that we get to have in our bodies. So love your body, receive that clarity. I hope that this is so beautiful and transformative and helpful for you. And I have a question for you. Which topic would you like me to explore next? If you want to tell me in the comments or respond to this poll on Substack, 4 topic options I have. First, how to rewire your subconscious mind. Second, daily embodiment practices. I can share more of my favorites. Third, embodiment practices for weight loss, because I have a great story about that. And fourth, embodiment practices for good sleep. Also have great stories for that and great practical frameworks for both of those. And if you want more on embodiment, rewiring for success, and living your values, please subscribe for weekly wisdom, practices, and stories delivered straight to your inbox on my Substack. It's called Step Into Love with Sophia. It's under my username, sophialeitnerubert.substack.com. I would love to meet you there and connect with you further there. And if you're ready to rewire the subconscious programming that's been keeping you stuck, if you feel like you've been stuck in something, like there's something in your subconscious that you want to work through and heal, stay tuned. Later this week, I have something coming that will help you update your internal operating system, not through willpower, but through your nervous system, through using a neuroscience-backed tool to support your subconscious mind reprogramming, okay? And a little bit extra, PS here, I am embodying my personal brand. As slightly referenced to earlier in this post, my personal embodiment practice has called me to embody the next level of my business growth. So that's what I'm doing here now. I'm being more bold, making statements like embodiment is better than manifestation. Not something I would have done 6 months ago, but I'm ready to do it now because I am embodying Sophia, who is a thought leader in this space now. And I feel called to be a successful business owner, a thought leader, speaker, author. So I'm embodying those identities now through aligned action, and I'm taking those aligned actions. This is why I'm making changes that you'll see reflected here. My Substack URL is now sophialeitnerubert@substack.com. The old links will redirect. The header still reads Step Into Love by Sophia, and so Step Into Love is my movement. That's what I call my movement, but I found it might not be entirely clear for people what that is about, and I want to make it clear now that I'm teaching embodiment. So embodiment is what I teach through Step Into Love, because I'm teaching people to take a physical step to step into love. And that's why I love the term step into love. Like step, it's so physical, it's so kind of small step, you know. It can be like a daily aligned choice, little small steps that get you so far. In the span of a year, you can get so far by taking a step every day, you know. So Step Into Love is the movement. Embodiment is what I'm teaching in that movement. And I realized this week also, I'm the one teaching it. I am the personal brand. I need to represent and be an example of what I teach. So again, that's what I'm doing here. You'll see me lean into my personal identity more because I am being that brand. You'll see me sharing more personal stories as I show how embodiment has truly changed my life time and time again. And for example, moving from sleeplessness to rest, from social anxiety to performing on stages, from self-doubt to authentic leadership, and from knowing my values to actually living them. This is not just a rebrand, it is much more than that. It's me practicing embodiment in action in front of all y'all, practicing what I preach, practicing what I teach. I'm claiming my name, my identity, my voice, my authority, and I'm showing up as the teacher and not hiding behind the concept. So, nice to meet you. Let me know if you want another introduction. My About page on Substack introduces me pretty well, I think, but I'm happy to do a video if you guys would like to know me more, you know, through video. So the work remains the same. I help you move from knowing your values to living them, from thinking about transformation to actually experiencing the transformation. And this is why I do this work. This is why I'm so passionate about embodiment, because my mission is to teach embodied self-love practices for creating the life you want. I teach you to step into love, call in clarity, and co-create your dream life, one step at a time, one choice at a time, one aligned action at a time, and that is so, so powerful. So thank you for being here as I step more fully into this work. Your presence matters so much to me. Your presence means so much. Your transformation matters, and I'm honored to be a part of your journey. Thank you so much for watching this little manifesto about why embodiment is better than manifestation. With warmth and total belief in your positive transformation, I send you peace, I send you love. Take care.